Don Johnson walked away from the action role that made Kevin Costner star, and he had a good reason. In 1987, Kevin Costner was elevated from a promising young actor to superstar status when he played Elliot Ness in Brian De Palma's The Untouchables. His on-screen charisma as the famous G-Man, holding his own opposite icons Sean Connery and Robert De Niro, made Hollywood take notice of the soft-spoken talent from Linwood, California. His gain, however, was Don Johnson's loss, as he was considered to be De Palma's original choice to headline The Untouchables. Costner's legendary career would likely not have been possible had the Miami Vice star agreed to play Ness. Johnson was only 2 seasons into the hit NBC police drama when he reached pop culture icon status for the decade of excess. Naturally, a career on the big screen seemed to be destined once Vice's popularity fizzled out. But the last thing Johnson was looking for was another incorruptible hero with a badge. Don Johnson was a pop culture icon in the 80s when Miami Vice hit the airwaves in 1984. Johnson's popularity was narrowed down to the trend he outlined in his portrayal of Detective James Sonny Crockett: pastel-colored suits, 5 o'clock stubble, and sockless loafers. The once struggling actor, whose biggest role to this point was in the film adaptation of Harlan Ellison's A Boy and His Dog, reached a level of fame that made him the kind of man that women desired and other men aspired to be. On top of the cosmetic aspects, Crockett was a no-nonsense detective, often walking a fine line between his duties to the badge and the seduction of the underworld of Miami's drug trade. His on-screen charisma had every potential to transition him off the small screen and into a matinee idol with just the right film. While Miami Vice was in the top rankings of American television by 1986, Paramount greenlit The Untouchables for the big screen. The film was a loose adaptation of the popular ABC crime drama from 1959 to 1963, starring Robert Stack, depicting the real-life Prohibition-era agent who led the takedown of Al Capone. Unlike Stack's hardened and disciplined performance of Ness, De Palma sought a more sensitive take on the G-Man by emphasizing his family life with his wife Catherine, Patricia Clarkson, and their children, as well as his sympathy towards the innocent victims of Capone's lawless grip on Chicago. But filling Stack's shoes was no easy feat, and De Palma needed the right actor who could make Ness relatable rather than cut and dry to audiences. Don Johnson was afraid of typecasting. Johnson was already friendly with De Palma, having worked with ex-wife Melanie Griffith on 1984's Body Double when he was offered to headline The Untouchables. The imagery seemed correct if one thinks of Johnson trading the pastels for a Giorgio Armani 3-piece suit and fedora. Being established for one world-renowned cop role on TV, however, Johnson was eager to stretch his talents and didn't find Ness to be challenging. During a 2025 interview with Marc Maron on the WTF podcast, he explained how he spent life outside Miami Vice seeking after roles 180 degrees away from Sonny Crockett to avoid typecasting, realizing early on was that, okay, I gotta separate myself from this character. I gotta separate Don Johnson from Sonny Crockett, ASA. By the time Costner landed the role of Ness, he was already emerging on Hollywood's radar thanks to standout roles in Fandango, American Flyers, and Silverado. But what made his take on Ness so successful wasn't just leaning on his family man status, but also his square-jawed approach to bringing down Al Capone. Costner's more relaxed style of acting meshed with the David Mamet screenplay by taking a minimalist approach that was not always about the gunplay and roughing up suspects. Those later traits are what Johnson was best known for on Vice, which would have made him the wrong choice for Ness in the end. Despite his best efforts to distance himself from Sonny Crockett with middle-aged dramas like Sweetheart's Dance and the second-billed title role in Harley-Davidson and The Marlboro Man, Johnson never quite translated his hot television career to the big screen. Even his comedic turn as Costner's golf course rival in Tin Cup only took him so far in box office success. It would be decades before the former Miami Vice star found his footing as a working supporting actor in critically acclaimed hits like Django Unchained, Knives Out, and Rebel Ridge. Though he never donned Ness fedora, Johnson's career path would endure much like Costner's career long after their prime years had passed.